Your hunger for good content ends here. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to never miss a film from IFP.
How did passion fuel my journey? So I won't give you a long lecture on how important it is to have passion and a certain element of madness, as Zorba the Greek called it. But I'll tell you a little story. About the first time I came to Bombay, I was 16 years old. I had run away from home. That's another long story which you can read about in my memoirs if you're interested. And there were these friends who hosted me. And I got off at Bombay Central. I was 16 years old, it's 1966. We took the local train to Bandra, and they had put me up in a bungalow on Mount Mary. So we drove past, when we were coming out of Bandra station, got into a cab to go to Mount Mary. And on the way, my friend said, "There's Mehboob Studio." And I turned around and I saw the emblem. It was much emptier then. The studio really stood out. My heart jumped to 48 frames per second, you know. When I saw this place, I saw the outside, because I'd seen Mehboob's films, and I still think he's one of our greatest filmmakers. And I lived a walking distance away, and I would walk up and down, just going past. I never dared even approach the Darwan because there was no question of being let in. And today here I am. So I guess being called a legend and so on, which, you know, I still find it hard to get my head around.
So my first question to you, without further ado, is why acting?
For me, personally? Because it gave me a sense of self-worth. I wasn't good at anything when I was a child. And to make matters worse, I had two brothers, elder brothers. And as all of you who are the youngest sibling would know, the youngest brother is no good for God, man, or beast. And both these brothers were outstanding in their own ways. One was the brains, and the other was the hero, the cat, the champion athlete, and the guy with the girlfriend, and so on. And I was the idiot who wasn't good at anything. Until I discovered my fondness for poetry and my fondness for drama. And this happened when I was about 12 or 13. I think I'd memorized the whole of Julius Caesar when I was 13 years old. I still remember every word of it. We were taught it in class. I would recite it to myself all the time, and it was just great bliss. I would imitate actors I'd seen in movies or actors I'd seen in plays and so on. And most importantly, and people don't believe this, but it's really true, there is an ailment. It's an ailment called onomatomania. Onomatomania means that you are impelled. The symptoms of onomatomania are that you feel impelled to speak a line or a verse or a word or anything that you've heard or read somewhere for no reason other than for the joy of saying it. And all those who, you know, Dr. Lagu, who I consider one of the greatest theatre actors I've seen, described himself as a bathroom actor. Like there are bathroom singers, there are bathroom actors. All of us are bathroom actors. And I'm sure many of you will find a resonance in this matter of onomatomania. A lot of us have it. Don't we just find ourselves reciting a line, kitne aadmi the, or whatever one, you know, you love. You just find yourself saying it for no reason at all. I think that is the main reason I became an actor, because I enjoyed speaking things, rehearsed things. I'm not very good at starting conversations with strangers, but I do love reading aloud, and I do love reciting. And perhaps that is what drove me to it. Then having come into it, I found I can do a pop psychology analysis of it and give you many intellectual reasons, but I think that is really why I chose to be an actor and not try to join the army or become an engineer. Also because I couldn't be bothered to study.
But was there like a specific moment when you saw an actor on stage and you suddenly, or in a film, that you thought, okay, I could do that, or I wish I could do that?
Oh, many times, and I think right from a very early age, I saw very many movies when we were in school when I was young, both Hindi and English. Those days there were only Hollywood or British films. I'm talking of the early 50s. And I used to be transported. I used to imagine myself as all those people, all the time. Being on the screen somehow seemed like an impossibility because it didn't look like a real world. I didn't believe these people actually existed. These people one saw on the screen. It was when watching great stuff on the stage that I realized that it's human beings who act. And the man who influenced me the most, I realized later, was Jeffrey Kendall, whose performances I saw from the age of 5 right until he ended his working career about 50 years later. He influenced me a great deal. Firstly, because I was stunned by the quality of his diction, his bodily approach to every part, and his versatility, and the simplicity with which he staged things. And that's what made me realize right then that a play doesn't necessarily need a grand setting, and it disturbs me greatly when I see plays done by young people where they try to emulate Broadway or something like that, and you see these tatty attempts at creating magnificent sets, and they just never work. If there's anything that works on the stage, from the stage, what is transmitted is the stimulation of the audience's minds. So I'm not at all in favor of these grand productions which try to create an illusion on the stage. The illusion has to be created in the listeners' minds. That's what I've come to believe. And I think that seeing Mr. Kendall and his work so early in life helped me to crystallize this. And I'll tell you a beautiful little story about two actors in the No Theatre, the Japanese No Theatre, which is an extremely stylized, very formal kind of theatre which is performed in temples, where everything is codified. All the gestures, all the expressions, all the emotions are codified. There is a gesture for sadness, there is a gesture for despair, there is a gesture for anger, etc., etc. There is a gesture for pointing at the moon. Pointing at the moon. Now there were two actors, one of whom, when he appeared and performed this gesture, the audience gasped because he was so graceful and so light and so beautiful to look at and so expressive and so technically proficient that when he performed the gesture, the audience gasped. There was another actor who had none of these qualities. But when he pointed at the moon, the audience saw the moon.